Suprabhatam to all of you. Yesterday we have started the Ashtabhakra Samhita, and today I will be starting from the book Narada Bhakti Sutra. This is a beautiful book written and explained by Swami Bhuteshananda in English. Just the back cover I am reading before starting this beautiful book. This will give us a hint how important it is for all spiritual seekers. The best and easiest path to attain God in this age, according to Sri Ramakrishna, is the path of devotion as taught by Narada. Narada Bhakti Sutras is a complete and thorough guidebook for all sincere seekers of God, taking us from the first steps of our spiritual ascent. It leads us gently and firmly till we reach the summit. Again and again, Narada urges us to strive for divine bliss and supreme love, leaving aside all distractions of this world. By singing the glories of God, meditating on Him, and constantly fixing our minds on Him, realization is not far off. Narada assures us that if we preserve in our practice, the Lord will certainly manifest Himself to us in all His glory, not only in our hearts but also as a living presence in all beings. With examples from the lives of previous lovers of God, Narada inspires us to go on and on. Starting the Narada Bhakti Sutra from the first sloka, the English translation. Atha, after acquiring the competence of mind to understand the path of devotion, Atha, because that is the easiest path leading to the goal of God realization, Bhaktim, the path of devotion. We shall explain the meaning of devotion, how it is to be attained. Number 1. Now, therefore, we shall explain devotion of God. Sage Narada begins the treatise with this aphorism. Now we shall explain Bhakti. He is addressing at a particular larger group of people who need this exposition. Any teaching is to be imparted to those who are competent enough to receive and assimilate it. It should not be spoken before anybody and everybody, because that will not be helpful. Not only that, people who are reluctant will ridicule the teacher. Hence the necessity of selecting the right type of candidate to whom the teaching is to be imparted. Many aphoristic treatises begin in almost the same style. There are 4 points implied in the first aphorism. What is the subject matter that is to be taught? Visaya. For whom is this teaching meant? Or who has got the competence to receive this teaching? Adhikari. So you can understand how beautifully the writer narrates that there is an immense importance that who can receive this sort of teaching. What is the objective, or what is the desired goal? What is the benefit of learning this and going through this practice, prayojana? What is the relation between the teaching and the objective to be attained by the following the same, sambandha, what we say. These preliminary points or relations have to be understood before going into study of the work. First of all, what is the subject? That is Visaya. The subject matter is bhakti or devotion. Narada will explain what devotion is in the next aphorism. Secondly, for whom, Adhikari, is this teaching meant? That what we are saying, who can receive this teaching. Narada is going to impart this teaching to those who are desirous of following this path. It is not meant for mere curiosity mongers, nor for intellectual speculation. Only those who want to shape their lives in accordance with this teaching are competent to know it. For what is taught here has a special importance in life. This is an important point. Who are fit for the path of devotion? There are people who are not satisfied with their present state of life, who feel that there is something lacking in life, but do not know how that lack or imperfection can be removed. That is, they are seeking something but do not know how to get it. It is for such people that this treatise will be helpful. The idea is, if people are satisfied with their existing condition, there is no desire in them to learn. For them, any teaching is useless. So they are left out. This means that those who are sufficiently competent to understand the teaching will not benefit by it. Only those who have got some sort of mental equipment which makes them competent to follow the teaching and benefit by them, the discussion is meant only for such people. Therefore, a particular form of mental approach is necessary. What are the conditions necessary to be competent to learn about the path of devotion? There is only one thing needed. That is a sincere desire and earnestness for the attainment of devotion. Sri Ramakrishna often emphasized this point. The only qualification necessary is the desire to attain bhakti. There must be real yearning for it. The aspirant must seriously think about how to attain bhakti. For such, this treatise is necessary. If people are engrossed in the enjoyment of the sense pleasures, naturally the desire for devotion will not arise in their hearts. Naturally too, they will not feel any inclination to hear about God. If one does not believe in God, or if one is a rank atheist, this teaching will not help him or her. It has been stated in the Gita that this teaching is not for those who have not gone through some sort of hard struggle for higher life, some sort of privation for the sake of attaining the ideal, or for those who do not go to the least inclination towards it. It is clear that only people of the right type of competence are eligible for going through this treatise. There is another point. The person who is to be eligible for this teaching need not be an erudite scholar. He or she may be unlettered. One need not be conversant with the Vedas or other scriptures or philosophy in one word, Pandit. A person desiring to follow Bhakti Yoga need not have any kind of special status in society. The path of devotion is meant for everyone of any status in life. Such distinctions do not either qualify one for or disqualify from the pursuit of devotion. One more thing, age is not a criteria to follow the path of devotion. Some people develop some sort of attraction for God since their childhood because of the impressions of their past lives. There are glowing examples of child devotees like Prahlad, we all know them, Narada himself, Shuka, and others, who from their very birth were ardent devotees of God. To perform sacrifices, certain qualifications are needed. Not so is the case of the path of devotion. One need not be very moral either. It is enough if one is just an ordinary person. Desire for sense enjoyment may be there, but this desire should not be so strong as to debar the aspirant from the pursuit of spiritual life. This is what competence means. In the Bhagavata, it is said, who is a Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga is helpful. Who is a Bhakti Yogi? Bhakti yoga is helpful to him who is attracted to the sport or the play of God. By hearing about God, somehow his interest has been awakened in him. This person is neither extremely engrossed in the enjoyment of the sense pleasures, nor has he the utmost spirit of renunciation. He is just in the midway, as it were. So only one thing is needed, and that is yearning for the life of devotion. For such people, Bhakti Yoga is helpful. This has already been implied when I said that a person engrossed in sense pleasures will naturally not like to hear about God. If he is so pure as to be completely free from sense attractions, he may be fit for any of the other paths, like the path of knowledge or so forth. Of course, Bhakti Yoga is not debarred from him, but he is not specially meant for Bhakti Yoga alone, because he may go for other paths too. When a person, however, is not pure to such an extent that he can eschew all kinds of attractions to the things of the world and devote his mind to the inquiry of the highest quality of reality, for a person of this type, Bhakti Yoga will be helpful. Now a question may arise, if a person has got that yearning, he has also attained devotion. Why then is a further discussion on bhakti needed? The writer says, but then such a deliberation on devotion is necessary, because the person's yearning must be directed along the right path so that it should not be frittered away. Secondly, the seeker must not misunderstand the goal. Therefore, the aspirant must have a clear direction about how he should proceed, what the pitfalls are, and what the goal is. Hence, the knowledge of Bhakti Yoga is necessary. Bhakti Yoga is not meant merely to satisfy one's intellectual curiosity. It is a subject which concerns our life. The most important thing is that it should not be taken lightly as a speculative subject. Take, for instance, the case of a philosopher who studies philosophy. He studies for the sake of intellectual satisfaction. His life is not concerned with it. One's philosophy may be one, and his life may be a different one altogether. It is not that a person who talks high philosophy necessarily lives according to it. A professor of philosophy in a college or university may be an erudite scholar, but this does not necessarily mean that he lives his life according to his philosophy. We know this because we studied under one such philosopher. He was an erudite scholar and could speak brilliantly on various abstruse subjects. His life, however, was even below the average so far as life quality is concerned. Not that he did not have any reputation. He had reputation, but his life had nothing to do with his philosophy. Until now, we discussed 2 points implied in the first aphorism: the subject, Visaya, and the aspirant, Adhikari, fit for this discipline. Now the third point is the objective prayojan of studying the scriptures. The object to be attained by the study is supreme devotion. The fourth point is the relation, sambandha. In the case of a seeker of devotion, it is not merely the understanding of the path and the object, that is, supreme devotion, which is important. A mere study of the subject is not enough. After having the knowledge of the path of devotion, one has to practice it for the attainment of the goal. So far as the path of knowledge is concerned, it has been described that the knowledge of one identity with Brahman is the goal, and the path is discrimination. While we discuss the path, we may have an intellectual understanding of it. In the path of devotion, however, mere intellectual understanding is not enough. The practice of devotion is given greater importance because devotion is both the way and the goal. In the Bhagavata, it is mentioned that through the practice of devotion, one has to reach the state of supreme devotion. That is, a beginner has to begin with the devotion consisting of the ritualistic path, but ultimately he reaches the supreme goal. Without some attraction for devotion, one will not begin his journey, which ultimately matures into the supreme love. That was the first sloka and its explanation given by Swami Bhuteshananda ji in English. Beautiful. Today we have read about details about the Visaya, about the content, and the aspirant, the proper aspirant who is eligible to receive this sort of teaching, and also the importance to read the scriptures in detailed way. In coming talks we will see, in coming reading we will see how Swami Bhuteshananda ji explains these beautiful sutras of Narada and how it should be helpful in our spiritual life. Thank you very much. Jai Thakur.